When I took the oath to be your Attorney General, I swore that I would uphold the Constitution of this state and of this nation. And when we say we'll defend the rule of law, we mean it. That's why this morning I led a coalition of 18 states, the District of Columbia, and the city of San Francisco in suing President Trump and his administration for the unlawful order he signed yesterday that rewrote the Constitution, upended centuries of precedent, and denied residents in our state and across this country the right that they have in the Constitution to birthright citizenship.
Harvard Law School professor emeritus and author of the book, The 10 Big Anti-Israel Lies and How to Refute Them with Truth, Professor Alan Dershowitz joins me. Good evening, sir. Tell me, is this constitutional? Does the president have the authority to do this?
The answer seems pretty clear that it's not constitutional. I think the idea that a person born in the United States is automatically a citizen is foolish. I mean, you have somebody who has no connection to the country. His mother was here skiing, and she had an early pregnancy, and the baby was born, and 3 days later was sent back to her country and never came to the United States again, can run for president. No, can't run for president. You have to have lived there 15 years to run for president, but can be a full and complete citizen. That the only exception to it is the 14th Amendment says all persons born, that person was born, and subject to the jurisdiction thereof. And that's where some people say, well, if a person left the country, never had any connection, maybe that person isn't subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. I think that would require legislation. So I think the weakest case is the president just announcing it. You know, it may be the right thing to say from a policy point of view. The second stronger case would be if Congress passed legislation saying a person born in the United States will not be deemed subject to its jurisdiction if he is not in the country for, and then list a bunch of times. But I think the weakest case is just to announce that we're just not going to follow the words of the 14th Amendment. That seems very, very difficult to justify. Obviously, the courts will have the last word on this, and it depends on whether you're a literalist reading the Constitution or more of a functionalist. The rule itself is not a wise rule, but it's in the Constitution.
All right, who has, quote, standing, you know, that's sort of a weedy word, but, you know, you can't just bring a lawsuit. Like, I can't, if I watch a car accident, I can't bring the lawsuit because I wasn't in the car, I wasn't in the accident. You know, you've got to have really intimate involvement with the case standing. So who would be the proper party? Do these AGs, because there's federal funding involved, does that give them authority to at least bring this to court?
Certainly the courts would have the power to dismiss an AG's lawsuit. Obviously, the person who would have the standing would be a person born in the United States who was denied the benefits of citizenship, say being deported on the criteria that are available to deport people who are not born in the United States. She or he would have clear standing. You know, I think only a citizen, by the way, can be charged with treason. You can't commit treason if you're not a part of the country. So there are benefits and there are disadvantages in being a citizen, being drafted, et cetera, all of those things. So over time, there would be people who would have standing, but these preemptive lawsuits brought by, you know, attorneys general might have a hard time surviving standing. But, you know, the rules of standing are trickily changing also in the United States Supreme Court. So this is a work in progress with a lot of moving parts. We don't know the clear answer. Oliver Wendell Holmes once said the job of a lawyer is to predict what the courts will do. In fact, Mark Levin of Fox News called me Nostra Dershowitz because my predictions have been right on over the years, and I will make a prediction here. I do not think the Supreme Court will sustain a simple proclamation by a president that a person born in the United States is not automatically a citizen. But, you know, I'm not 100% sure of that. And as I said, I don't blame President Trump for trying to eliminate one of the least persuasive parts of our Constitution. But if it's in the Constitution, it's hard to do except by constitutional amendment, certainly in the absence of legislation. So I think he has a real uphill fight. He might win on standing, but on the merits, I think it would be a big uphill fight.
People think news just happens. It doesn't. It happens because there's someone there to capture the moment, to explain it and share it. That's my job. I go where news breaks and give you the facts. Join me for The Record on Newsmax.